Joe Biden appeared to fall asleep Monday while listening to a speech at the United Nations Climate Conference, drawing a jab from the man who dubbed him Sleepy Joe. Former President Donald Trump had a laugh at Biden's expense after a video circulated showing the president closing his eyes for about 20 seconds as he sat through opening remarks at the United Nations Conference of the Parties, better known as COP26, in Glasgow, Scotland. President Trump in a statement said, "Biden went to Europe saying global warming is his highest priority, and then promptly fell asleep, for all the world to see, at the conference itself. Nobody that has true enthusiasm and belief in a subject will ever fall asleep." Joe Biden opened his eyes after another man, presumably an aide, approached and began talking to him. The president re-entered the 2015 Paris Climate Accord after taking office in January, reversing President Trump's 2017 decision to withdraw from the non-binding agreement, which seeks to limit the increase in global temperatures to 1.5 degrees Celsius. President Trump said the agreement put the United States at an economic disadvantage versus rivals like China. Mr. Trump said, "Even Biden couldn't stand hearing so much about the global warming hoax, the seventh biggest hoax in America, followed closely behind by the 2020 presidential election scam, Russia, Ukraine, impeachment hoax 1, impeachment hoax 2, and of course, the no collusion finding of the Mueller report." Conservative commentators on social media feigned sympathy for Joe Biden's plight. Sean Davis, co-founder of The Federalist, tweeted, "Can you blame him?" Biden spoke Monday at the annual climate confab, which was postponed from last year because of the corona pandemic. COP26 opened Sunday and is slated to run through November 12 in Glasgow. Senator Joe Manchin on Tuesday accused the White House of jumping the gun when unveiling the compromise framework for Biden's $1.75 trillion social welfare and climate change bill. Mr. Manchin said he had never signed off on the framework, despite assertions otherwise from White House officials. Joe Manchin said, "I've been here long enough to know that when you say you signed off on things, you have to keep your word, and I'm not going to be a liar or make anyone else a liar, so that's why I hadn't." A key swing vote for Joe Biden's legislative agenda, Manchin argued that at the time the compromise was announced there was still disagreement between himself and the president. He said, "The White House knew exactly where I stood. There were a couple of concerns that we had that we needed to work through." His comments came one day after he upended negotiations over the spending bill. At a Capitol press conference, Joe Manchin made a full-throated attack on his party's far-left faction for linking the social welfare bill to the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure package. He said, "The political games must stop. As you've heard, there are some House Democrats who say they can't support this infrastructure package until they get my commitment on the reconciliation legislation. Holding this bill hostage won't work to get my support for the reconciliation bill." He backed up his criticism, claiming that far-left Democrats were also engaged in shell games, budget gimmicks, on the larger spending bill, the full cost of which hasn't been scored yet by the Congressional Budget Office. Last week, Mr. Biden announced after months of delay, he had the basis for a deal. The $1.75 trillion compromise framework fell far short of the $3.5 trillion that far-left Democrats initially proposed. The plans that were dropped from the package were to expand Medicare, provide free community college and a federal guarantee of paid family leave for every worker. Joe Biden made the concessions in hopes of bringing on board moderate Senate Democrats, namely Joe Manchin and Senator Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona.